India Charts publishes Nifty Daily, daily video updates, the weekly Elliott Wave Outlook, and the Long Shot Report covering all asset classes.
Level in terms of valuation. But now after this rally, and in fact, my keen point a year back also was that the only time we'll get a second correction and a crash, which people kept asking me at 9,000, 10,000, 11,000, was that if there is a second wave, but I couldn't see it back then. And now almost a year later, we actually have a second wave. And all the reason why, if that statement was true, then the market should go into a deeper sell-off, especially ours. The only light that we can see though is being because of not just government actions that have taken place in the in-between to keep that from happening in other parts of the world. I think our main concern is that in India we went too slow. I think that's something we're going to crib about for the rest of the year, because we could see that train coming. I think by early March, in Feb, I was myself, talking down the second wave, and then by March it was clear that it's coming, and I changed my COVID post saying that it's already here. And I thought by March end we would have announced lockdowns and market would have seen a negative impact. But after that, I changed my view, looking at the triangle and looking at the setups and stocks reaching exhaustion. Most of April, I think we've seen that. I mean, the indices didn't fall, even though things were, getting worse. And that only means that a sector-specific approach has gone on. The biggest pain has come, of course, in sectors that are affected, whether it's PVR type stocks, which are in the media space, or hotel stocks like Indian Hotels, and those which are affected are down. But others which have a global exposure, whether it's technology, whether it's metals driven by the dollar and copper or steel demand around the world, and all of those trends have really helped particular stocks and sectors perform. So that is why the Nifty has held up better than the Bank Nifty. And so the Bank Nifty remains the scariest place. But the sentiment around Bank Nifty, if I just reflect on it, is very similar to what we really saw in September. In September, I myself had put out charts in the Long Shot Report showing how banking underperformed after 2009 in the US. And so our banking could also underperform, but that doesn't mean it won't go up. But that was also the start of the major move up. So everybody thought our banks will not participate, but they moved up pretty significantly from there. So again, now the sentiment is the same. I understand that banks are taking a hit and they face a tougher situation here. What we don't know is whether the RBI will respond and provide them with additional support like last time. And even if they don't, then yes, there's some near-term pain they'll take, but then the banking stocks have corrected as well. On the flip side, a lot of these spending plans that the government has, which is all more than what it was last year. If we just go back to the budget that created that optimism, where the market rallied to a new all-time high post the budget, those plans are still in place. The only thing we've really done badly is overlooked the second wave while it was staring us in the face in March itself, not approving imports of vaccines and private player entries and all of those things which were already on the table. Private sector players were already saying in March that allow us do this will speed it up. Why was it ignored? What was the politics behind it? I think is hard to explain. But coming back, we have to look at what markets think about that. So far, markets have ignored the rising case numbers up to almost more than 3.5 lakh, and now it's crossed 4 lakh yesterday. Will it still ignore that? I think that's the question of the week. So I'll only be forced to go back to the two of the charts that I published. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes, absolutely. I'm able to see it.
So this is now you can see a more detailed chart. I just published a small cut of it because that's how much fits on a page. But what this shows is various bottoms, and we can even look at tops where the put call ratio based on open interest usually gives an extreme overbought oversold signal, and sometimes before a top or a bottom will also give you negative or positive divergences on the chart. So when we actually looking at this, what you'll end up seeing at these places, like for example, when this top is taking place, you can actually see the PCR start to diverge and make a lower top. Similarly, at the bottom is the 2018 sell-off. We actually get a positive divergence. We got this here. while this last part of this decline was happening, and all this is during a bear market, because even though the Nifty was going higher, the mid cap and small cap indices peaked over here and went through a 2-year bear market from here all the way to here. So every top we've actually seen divergences, and well, that's what we are also seeing out here now, right? So at this bottom, between the bottom that we made in March and the bottom that we made in April, we actually have a positive divergence, and the PCR started to rise. Now, all this has happened just before expiry, and on expiration, just a day before, we had almost 60,000 contracts. So let me just clean this up, and then I can move to the next chart. Okay, so we've got the positive divergence. Sorry.
Yeah, Rohit, this put call ratio, the low what is in month of April, it is lower than what it has made in March 2020.
So one sec, I'm just trying to minimize the image screen. I don't know why it's not going from my. Okay, so it is lower than what it was. Yes, this is the lowest reading in almost 4-5 years. Okay, so all the way back here to here, this is the lowest reading, which is fine.
Does this say that the market has already discounted this COVID crisis?
No, so I'll not read the PCR that way, because what happens with the PCR, it just keeps changing its range. So if actually, for example, if I just change the data selection here, just to give you an insight, okay. For a moment, I'll just do that. Instead of 3,700 data points, I'm going to go back to 1,000, from 1,700 onwards. Okay. Now you're seeing a much longer time period. You're seeing it all the way from 2010, almost 9 almost. Okay. So you see the PCR changes its range. It was in this range, then it went to a lower range here. So you would have thought this is the right range, and then it moves to an upper range and then to a lower. So what happens is you broadly have a range that, this is up and these are the tops and bottoms broadly occurring here. But if it starts shifting its range from one side to the other, and if I go back, I've not included data from 2003, 4 and so on, then it was at a much lower level, which means the overbought, oversold conditions were happening at a much lower reading. So at each point, I have to actually adjust based on where we are. So now I'll make it even more relevant. Okay, so we go all the way back to, so you asked a very technical question, but I'm sure it interests people. So now I've gone all the way back to 2003. You can see the chart is going below my, so I'll have to actually adjust the scale also. Okay, so let's make this, oh, sorry, not this scale, this, the left one. Okay, so now you're seeing how the PCR has changed ranges throughout this time period, right? So the actual thing about PCR is not that a particular level is overbought or oversold. The thing about PCR is that directionally sector indices. So if we just quickly take a look, let me just pick up a handful of these sector indices and scan them, and do pay attention to what happened, not just in the sector indices, but in the Nifty on the weekly chart also. So let me just open the weekly chart before I go to the sector indices. The weekly chart, based on what we discussed last week, the triangle thesis, which is 2 weeks up, 2 weeks down for A, B, C, D, E, which was perfectly complete. We did that, and we closed the week positive and above the 20-week average. Okay, so now if I want to say the glass is half empty, half full, I can say it's closed positive for the week above the 20-week average. That's a bullish sign. If I move to candle patterns and I look at this long upper shadow and slight increase in volume, it can be taken as a negative sign. Oh, there's a long upper shadow, which means prices couldn't hold higher and bears had a upper hand. So I think basically there is a bull bear fight here. Okay, and just like we were seeing every Monday, market declines, then recovers, declines, then recovers. This week we've seen market recover in the early part of the week and then decline on Friday. Okay, now is this just a reverse pattern? Will things just improve from Monday? You have two news flows that will dominate. One is, of course, Reliance results, which at least were better than expected, but we would need to see the market's own reaction to that, because sometimes after results, markets go into a profit booking mode. on the stock, but the stock Reliance has already been dull for so long that I wonder it can be taken positively. And the other one is BJP, the election results, right? Whether the government is coming into power. And the polls are on stocks, then worry about the Nifty. I think Nifty could trouble us because of the news flow. What would keep us in better stead is right sector places, and I think we've already picked that correctly, which is the public sector enterprises index to do well, and it's holding up much better and has joined the rally. The metals, of course, has been outperformer. That doesn't really
it's been a dream run. Last week was like unbelievable.
10% on Nifty metals. Okay, so for the week, and it's still not over.
Yeah.
It's not even achieved the third wave equality. Okay, and in terms of internal wave structure for the third, we can see this is 1, this is 2, and what we've done on Friday is just the 4th. Either the 4th is done or it will pull down a little more and do 4th. So if Monday Nifty pulls down, the metal index will only complete 4, and then it will head up towards 5,300, which is where 3 and 1 will be equal. And then also the next correction will be a 4, and then there's a 5th left before we can say the third is over and you get a meaningful 2-week, 3-week kind of pullback. So before we even go to a 2-week kind of pullback, there's a lot more left in the metal index. So definitely metals is on top of the list. PSEs have picked up, so they are second on the list. And other stocks will join in. We just give them time. Try to look for stocks that have more external business.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but Friday, it was some kind of a good move for some of the pharma stocks also. Do you think the COVID sentiment is going to drive this pharma stocks up now? Again, I mean, the break has been taken.
Slightly tough call. Like I said, it's on the 5th. The only way the pharma index will extend is that instead of 5th, it becomes 105, 205, 305, 405, which is completely possible. I cannot rule it out. There's no clarity as to whether that is happening or not happening as of now. So I think I will not completely exit pharma. I've just reduced a little bit of weightage. But most on the investment side, so I don't sell any of the pharma in any case. But yeah, I reduced a little weightage just to add other things like inflation sensitive sectors. So in early part of April, I had actually, when we discussed the portfolio reconstructing part, UK March was a good time to, create some cash so you can buy. So I actually increased weightage into pharma stocks like AstraZeneca and so on. And now actually reduced weightage to add back pro-inflation stocks, right? Which has been metals, has been going up and so on. So then why stick with the defensive and go back to the aggressive? And so which were the other aggressives? So that's what I was checking out. Tata Motors is an external sector stock which is affected by Europe and so on. So actually you would think it should do well, but so far it's again sold off with the rest of the domestic stocks. So which are the ones which are pro-inflation? And the autos are also affected by inflation because their costs go up. So that's a different angle. But if they can pass on those costs, not an issue. But really what they want is demand, right? So demand now for the domestic auto, it's a temporary setback. But again, let me go back to what I was saying, which is the pro-inflation, which is what sectors like sugar. So we saw sugar stocks do well this week. If nobody noticed, sugar stocks have been going up consistently, like Balrampur, Dhampur, we've written about before, and both went up. So this from here did a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. It's overlapping, and so I'll have to make it as a series of 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And now what it has started as a series of 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. So actually, unlike the previous segments where it has rallied, pullback, it looks like with these subdivisions that it should go into an extended move, which it needs to if it has to go to the top end of the channel. So these sectors, thanks a lot. Good luck to everyone, and we'll see you again next week. Hi everyone, you have just seen some quick bites of what we did last weekend in the weekend with India chart sessions that we've been actively pursuing, especially when markets have been quite mixed in terms of their trend, specifically with the Nifty, but we are seeing a lot of moves happening in individual securities, and which is why it's really taken off this week, I think, for the metals market. And so we discuss all of that, how it's looking further from here, And these are it's a complete 1 hour video that we have done last week and this week itself. Today's post should be live in a couple of hours. So if you want to watch that, you simply need to log into India Charts Insiders and watch the entire episode. And you can even watch last week's episode, whose excerpts you have just seen. And it's given you some idea of what we do and how things really panned out.